This is RuggaMatrix International, the world's leading independent rugby podcast, quoted more than anyone else. It's no wonder that our major partner is Strike, Australia's leading provider of Bluetooth car kits, so you can stay safe in your car and avoid hefty fines. So go hands-free with Strike. Enter the code RuggaMatrix and you'll get 10% off. Go to strike.com.au to get your discount. RuggaMatrix also brought to you by mybean.com.au. We sell at roasters' prices. Let's get it on. Hello and welcome to RuggaMatrix International. We're back for a second show of the year 2015 World Cup year. I'm your host, Juro Sen, and he's back. Mark Cabana, Pinky Cash Cow. Cashman.
So my best work was here last week, Bronk, wasn't it? Show 200, had to miss it. So that's the way it goes. But as you say, good to be back.
Had a great guest, the one and only, the big cat, Ben Robinson. Not such a great weekend for the Waratahs, but how about the weekend for one of the guys who's really representing the Brumbies for us now, not so much as a player anymore, but off the field, the great Pat McCabe, one of the hardest running players I've ever seen in my life. Paddy, thanks for joining us on RuggaMatrix. It's wonderful to have you on.
G'day guys, thanks very much for having me.
Mate, absolute pleasure to see you on the show. Firstly, for those who do not know, Pat McCabe, of course, forced to retire through a couple of neck injuries, and last year was a bit of a close call. But Pat, you're back running, and I guess this is not to make a comeback in rugby, but just to make a comeback in life, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I spent 3 months in a neck brace after the All Blacks test in Eden Park, and it was obviously a pretty long and a pretty down time. But yeah, as you say, getting back into running and normal things, and incredibly lucky to still be doing those things and still be here. So very, very thankful.
Paddy, let's rip straight into the footy. The Brumbies, you must have been impressed with them. Round one, quite a comprehensive victory. They seemed to be playing with the Reds at different times during that game, weren't they?
Yeah, I thought it was outstanding. I thought as first round goes, it's about as dominant as the performance as I've seen in my time at the Brumbies. I thought our defence is outstanding. I thought our forwards were incredibly dominant, and I thought that our backs really took all the opportunities that came to them. So I thought it was a strong performance. I expect the Reds will not play that poorly again, but in saying that, it's a great start for the Brumbies.
Yeah, Paddy, so how much was it Brumbies' dominance compared to, Reds being diabolical? Because they admitted as well. In fact, Richard Graham admitted that they just basically didn't turn up.
Yeah, I guess it's always a little bit hard to say which created the other, but I thought we certainly didn't give them a chance to do the things they like to do. We didn't give them any front football on the forwards, so that really stifled any attacking possession that they did have. And then I think just with our superior kicking game and then the attack and the breakdown attack that we had, we really made it hard for them. So yeah, I guess it was probably more so us, but in saying that, they will have a lot of guys coming back.
Paddy, Stephen Larkham's obviously continuing to influence the evolution of this side, and that was pretty evident there on the Friday night, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Bernie naturally has a really attacking mindset and really likes the guys to chance their arm when they sniff those opportunities. And I think having now had his tutelage for 3 years, I think he feels really comfortable in empowering guys like Nick and Matt when they see opportunities to really just play what they see and chance their arm a bit more than we probably did a year or so ago.
Yeah, how's Stephen going now? He's a couple of years in the job, and I know when I went down to speak to him when he was given the head coaching role that maybe it was a year or so too early. He's now had a bit of time to bed it down. Have you noticed him improve in that role, and how's that demeanour? I mean, Bernie's always going to be Bernie and Stephen Larkham, but how is he going in that? Just how is he carrying himself as the head coach?
Yeah, you know what Bernie's like. Joe's an awkward bloke at the best of times, but he certainly, I think, really stepped into that authority role really well. I think he enjoys having control over the group, and while I'm not around them all the time, I think you really get a sense of confidence which he drives through the guys, and as well giving senior players enough sort of control over the group to really have their say. So with leaders like Steve Moore and David Pocock in the forwards, and then obviously Matt and Whitey in the backs, we're pretty well looked after in that department.
Paddy, is Bernie getting you to do some sort of mentoring role with the boys, or you're just sort of watching from pretty close quarters?
No, so I'm in the commercial team now. So I just thought to be involved with the team at all, to be that close and not actually involved in the playing would have been too hard. So I've moved into our sort of commercial team, working with the sponsorship and marketing guys, just getting a bit of a sense of what that's like, and experiencing a real job for the first time in my life, which has been a bit of a shock to the system.
So Pat, just on that, what do you mean would have been too hard? Do you think emotionally it would have been really hard for you to be that close to the team, so raw and so close to what you had to go through and retiring from the game with the neck injury?
Yeah, definitely. I think working in the commercial team, it sounds a strange thing to say, but it allows me to sort of wean myself off the place a little bit. I think I sort of had the option to step away and not do anything, but I think to just cut it all of a sudden, with it having been such a big part of my life up to this point, would have been pretty unnatural and really tough to walk away from that. So in this way, it sort of lets me gradually pull away from the place, and while I still, I guess, miss being out there with the boys, it makes it a lot easier that I'm not seeing all of the training or seeing really the inner sanctum stuff, which I'm no longer a part of.
Paddy, one of the talking points after the game from Friday night was James Hall's performance. Ended up with a red card in the end. Is Kev trying too hard at this time of the season? You know him well from Wallaby days, obviously.
I don't think so. I think it's in any competitive player's nature to really want to do the best for your team. And I guess when your team is struggling, the natural inclination is to try and do a little bit more to get the ball and to give yourself a bit of a head start or to get yourself going. So I think Kev's an outstanding player and has that real competitive edge. So I think that's probably what you saw coming out more so than trying to do too much.
What were your thoughts of Carmichael Hunt, obviously thrown into the deep end, controlling the game at pivot for the Reds after playing AFL? He obviously had some pedigree in rugby, but it's been another big transition for a code jumper in Australia. What do you think?
I guess it was sort of really hard to get a true indication of what he can offer. I think when your team's on the back foot as a 5'8", it's always going to be really tough to stand out and put any sort of stamp on the game. So I guess the Brumbies were successful in stopping him, showing what he can do. But seeing some of the footage of him against the Crusaders, I think he still very much has all those skills he showed when he played with the Broncos, and just reads the game incredibly well. So I'm really excited to see what they do with him this week.
Paddy, let's head up the Hume Highway. The Waratahs' performance against the Western Force. Western Force, I thought, didn't play much footy, did it very well, and the Tars looked very, very flat. How hard is it with a short turnaround to a Super Rugby season, which the pace is absolutely incredible? How hard is it for these guys to get up with such a short turnaround? And a lot of those Waratah guys were involved in that spring tour. You've gone through that yourself.
Yeah, I think a lot of them will probably like the short turnaround. I think coming off a poor performance by their high standards, I think they'll be liking the fact that they can get out there and really rectify that so soon. Afterwards, obviously, there will be some sore bodies, but it just means a shorter week of training, and just to be able to get out there so sooner. I don't think it lets you stew over the game, which you can tend to do if you haven't played as well as you want to do. So I think, if anything, it's a positive thing for the Tars.
Paddy, I was impressed, and tell me if you were, as a Brumbie, with the comment from Michael Checker the other day. He was asked about coaching the Wallabies later in the years, or he's actually the current Wallaby coach, and coaching the Waratahs, and he said something along the lines of, how would you feel? I just, to me, to start talking about other teams at this point, I mean, what does that message send to his own players in particular as he's trying to prepare for a game that week? I mean, it's just not on, and he won't be actually talking about anything Wallabies until it comes to the season. I mean, What do you think about that approach? And secondly, do you think it's a distraction for the Waratahs more than the other sides in Australia?
I don't know, to be honest. I guess it's only those guys who can really get a sense of if he's the same coach that he was to them last year. I think he's a smart enough guy, and he's not going to put himself in a position where he can't fully perform the two roles. Obviously, it's going to be a tricky balancing act, and it'll be interesting to see as the year plays out how some of those potential conflicts of interest are dealt with. But everything that I've seen of Michael Cheika, I've never been coached by him, but everything I've seen has impressed me, and I'd be surprised if he didn't handle it really well. I think the performance more than anything just showed how hard it is to come into the season off such a short preparation after a long year last year, and I don't think the Tars will play that way this week.
Paddy, is Check a guy that you would have liked to have been coached by at some stage?
Yeah, I think so. I really like that hard approach. I think him and Nathan Gray seem like they're a great combination. I do like the style that the team was trying to play over the spring tour. So, yeah, it would have been nice, but not to be. And I'm happy to watch the boys play now.
So it was a bit of a diabolical performance for the Waratahs. I think they tried to play too much rugby. Look, the tactics of the Force are very good. Michael Foley knows that good defence and waiting for the turnover ball is successful. It's a bit like the Crusaders in a way. Might be different skill sets, but in the end, I think the Tars would have known what they were heading into in that game. But the Force stuck to their game plan, and the Waratahs tried to probably overplay their hand. I think a question to you, Pat, is you had a fantastic start, the Brumbies, with game one. Waratahs not so good in game one. But as you know, it's not won until way, way down the track. So I guess even though the Brumbies had a spanking start, you've just got to say, oh, okay, it's just game one. We've got a long way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all the guys realise that. I think we've seen the Crusaders over the past years, the way they sort of build into a season and are somewhere down the bottom after the month, and inevitably are close to the top by the end. So I think the Brumbies guys have been around long enough that they know that the Reds wasn't a true reflection of what that side is, and that we'll need to be better again to beat the Chiefs away this week. It's a completely different proposition. The sounds out of the guys this week was that they were very aware of that and keen to improve on the things which they didn't do as well as they wanted to.
Sorry, just got to say, and having said that, your thoughts on the Rebels beating the Crusaders? I mean, doesn't matter what time of the year, but to beat the Crusaders on their home turf is an amazing effort.
Yeah, I think the Rebels are a great side. I think they showed with a lot of their performances last year the potential that they did have, and they've got a lot of quality there. So I think they'll, be hopefully a more consistent proposition than they've been in the past. I think they've probably been guilty of being up one week and down the next. So I think are another group like the Brumbies that have been together long enough that they know each other well, and will hopefully be able to sort of deliver those consistent performances.
Paddy, those results and the ones in South Africa with the some of the bigger dogs going down, the Bulls and the Sharks, points to a very, very even competition. You're probably going to need the least amount of points to make the semi-finals in past years.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. My tipping results are absolutely shot on the weekend, so I was pretty angry about those.
Did you pick the Tars or the Force? I want to know.
I was expecting the Tars to win, so they let me down a bit there. But I think, at the start of last year, it was a really strong home team winning mould, which I guess we've sort of come to expect with Super Rugby. But I think it's great that Kiwi teams can go to South Africa and win, and the Force can travel and win and things like that. So I think it always bodes for a good competition when any side can beat the other on their day.
I know it's week one. Any trends, or do you expect any trends to develop this year, World Cup year, where defence has got to be absolutely at a premium come the end of the year? As a player, do you think many players are thinking about that, or are they just doing the job for their provinces first?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think that too many guys would think too far ahead. I think they'd be just thinking about performing well for their provinces, and then they know that things probably look after themselves if they themselves, and particularly if their team's performing well, then they're going to make up a decent portion of the side.
Paddy, back to Canberra, and the effort of David Pocock to get on the field plays such a major role. He's an absolute freak, isn't he? To actually go through 2 knee reconstructions and all the other bits going on in and around there, whether they're mental or physical, and to come through and have such a dominant performance.
Yeah, he's a special player, Dave, and I think both the Brumbies and the Wallabies have really missed him over the past couple of years. I think he is just, I don't know, one of those guys who you just walk a little bit taller when you know he's on the field out there with you, and it's just one of those guys who you know without even thinking that he's just going to turn up when he needs to and give you everything he's got. He's really just a classy player and a very classy human being, Dave, and obviously an absolute physical Adonis as well. So I think he'll be right getting back out there after this short layoff again, and I think you expect to see him hit the ground running again. He's just that sort of guy and just prepares himself so incredibly well. I think it's sad for him as well because he ticks every single box and leaves no stone unturned. So for him to have these injuries is a real blow to him, but he'll be back bigger and better again.
Yeah, so how bad is the ankle injury?
As far as I know, it's probably a 2 to 4 week proposition. I think that he got through the game isn't necessarily a great indication. It's a bit of a different injury than most, but I don't think he'll be too far away. I think, expect to see him in the next month or so.
Can I just ask you a question about David? His philosophy in life, he draws a lot of attention outside that, but he's a very driven person, passionate person, cares about the environment and people. And obviously, the Brumbies have always there's always a story about the footy, but also David Pocock. I mean, he's a pretty honourable sort of guy, and and pushing, standing up for what he believes in. I mean, as a group, do you back him on those sorts of things?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's any time you see someone with really strong values who really stays true to those days, you definitely have a lot of respect for someone like that. Obviously, not everything he does is obviously exactly 100% what the team necessarily expects, but I think in every situation you've got to just have absolute admiration for the bloke. I think he is just so true to what he believes in and is really driven by those things, and he's certainly a guy which we love to have down here in Canberra.
Have you ever seen him in the past 2 years, Paddy? And you've been there in and around that camp. Any time in the past 2 years, have you seen him go, why am I doing this?
I don't know. If he has, it certainly hasn't been around the group. I think he's someone who, I guess with a lot of guys who have serious injuries, you really do try and put on a strong face around the group. I'd be surprised if there weren't dark moments where he really sort of thought, why me, and sort of got a bit frustrated with the cards that have been dealt to him over the last couple of years. But I think he's also really just enjoys being in Canberra and enjoys being a part of such a tight-knit community down here.
Yeah, the community is fantastic. In the commercial part, I know the game is battling a bit in Australia, but do you see enthusiasm for the Brumbies this year down there? I know you signed a major sponsor. I think we're supposed to we can't just say the Brumbies anymore, can we, Pat?
No, we're the Aquis Brumbies down here in Canberra now. So yeah, I'm going to make sure I'm going to
put that on the super when it comes up.
Yeah, absolutely, please do. So they signed on Tuesday morning, and it was my duty to race the jerseys to Sydney and get them all printed up for the game. So it's a sort of jobs I'm doing around, a bit of photocopying, bit of coffee making, and getting the jerseys printed.
Paddy, I think most people have been to Canberra have savoured some of their services, haven't they? They own the casino down there.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, so no, it's I think it's a really exciting connection for the Brumbies. I think they've got a huge commitment to improving the entertainment offering in Canberra. So they're talking about a huge precinct around the casino and really committing themselves to the area, which is incredibly exciting for the people who live here.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't know where you're going for a second there, Cash Cow. I've been a visitor to Canberra many times. A visitor to Canberra and love everything about it. It's good coffee in Canberra. There's no doubt about it.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Can I ask you a couple of questions about? And I know you haven't had a chance to see too many of the games, but you know we're seeing something really wonderful developing in Ireland. And I mentioned on previous shows, Paddy, that World Cup winning teams show their hand a year or so out. They really dominate all those opponents. Well, one of those teams is Ireland, and they continue to win and win well. Good win against France. When you beat France, it's always a great thing, isn't it? But England are winning as well, and I think that you know Wales are continuing to struggle. A big shock almost against Scotland at the weekend. But the thing is, I think this game coming up between England and Ireland is just going to be one of the all-time classics. When you head to the Northern Hemisphere, it's going to be one hell of a contest, isn't it, for the southern nations, because Ireland and England will be very hard to beat. France, of course, as always, but Ireland and England in particular, they're going to be tough for the southern hemisphere sides to beat, Pat.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're going to be a real handful. I think if I was now to pick my sort of top four for the tournament, I think England and Ireland would be in that top four. I think they do the things which you need to do in the Northern Hemisphere extremely well. Their set piece is rock solid. Their line speed and defence is very strong. They've got a good goal kickers. They clear their half extremely well. So yeah, I expect them to be right at the pointy end come World Cup time, and have been really impressed in the way that they've grown over the last 12 months. I think just some of the line speed that they were producing during the autumn internationals against the Box and Australia was as good as I've seen. And I think that's something which their attack's going to flow on the back of, and they're going to be a real handful.
Totally in the realm of Les Kiss. There you go, defence coach extraordinaire. That's his good man, that's his baby.
He's very good.
Paddy, on the England front, they seem to be coming on. They seem to be adding a few little arrows to their quiver, scoring some good tries in the back line.
Yeah,
I think
you know what it is. They just go down the mic forward. There can be some more Bath players. They'll do the job.
Yes,
because they're performing exceptionally well, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They've really developed that. I guess they've always had that sort of rock solid forward pack, but I think they've really added, as you say, just a few weapons to the arsenal with some of the pace they've got in the back three, and sort of Mike Brown's unpredictability at the back and things like that. So no, I think they're also going to be a tough proposition. I think they've got what you need to have in the Northern Hemisphere, as well as that ability to really win ugly if you need to, and they've shown that in some games over the last 12 months, and they've also, as you say, scored those good tries. So they do have that twofold aspect to their game, which is essential over there, I think.
And Paddy, you mentioned Mike Brown there, a sickening knockout blow. He was virtually asleep. You know, how important are these concussion protocols now? And you can probably talk a bit more freely now, seeing you're no longer an active player.
Yeah, it's obviously extremely important. I think all the evidence coming out of the NFL and around the world is pretty scary as a recently retired player, and I know for the current players that head knocks is something which gets spoken about, and is a genuine concern for guys that they recover from them as well as they possibly can. I think it seems like they're being treated really seriously. I think the protocols are really stringent now, and guys really need to go through a pretty rigorous process before they're allowed back on the field, which is exactly what it should be.
Yeah, well, we've had some incidents recently in the Six Nations, and so much so that medical staff have come out quite aggressively saying that there are too many, freelance experts out there making decisions without the hard and fast data that they have with the doctor's cachet. So it's been quite heavy in the last few weeks.
Yeah, the George North sort of situation sort of bubbled along for a couple of weeks, and good to see that he was actually stood down and wasn't part of the next round. But it's something, you know, with virtually no protection in and around that area, you've got to be very careful, and people's health is a lot more important than any sort of victory on a test paddock.
Absolutely. Can I just go back, Pat, just to Bernie Larkham, Stephen Larkham, the coach? What does he want different, without giving the game plan away? What does he want different out of this side for this season? Because went close last year, but just at times fell off the edges there. So I think Stephen would have learned a lot, and the players themselves. But what does he want that will put you across the line this year?
I think it is just adding a couple of those different things. I think the fundamentals don't change. I think clearing your half well when you need to, a strong breakdown, work ethic, and strong backfield coverage is obviously things which we've prided ourselves on over the last couple of years. I think just having that ability to play what's in front of you a little bit more. I think when Jake White first arrived, we were obviously very programmed, and people could see that we didn't play rugby out of our half or didn't chance our hand even when the opportunity was there. I think Bernie now trusts the group to, as I said before, take those opportunities when they do present themselves, and given Matt and the playmakers a lot of control around calling the shots and really giving them license to play what's in front of them.
You mentioned Jake White there, Paddy, and that was probably an era you needed to go through to play the football that you're playing now. Would that be a correct assessment?
Yeah, definitely. I think it really suited the group of players that we had at the time. I think if you look at the squad, then at the start of that 2012 season, I think I was the only current Wallaby playing in that team. Obviously, Steve Morad was there as well, but it was a really young, sort of fresh-faced group of players who needed that strong direction and really sort of benefited from having just a really simple but really controlled plan from the coaches of what to do in each situation, and we really didn't stray away from that at all. I think now you look at the squad and there's Wallabies pretty much top to bottom across the whole 15. So there's a lot more scope for guys to trust their feel for what's happening during the game and what's going to work in certain situations and not be so robotic about the way we go about things.
It's difficult though, because the great Brumbies teams of the past sort of looked like they were playing what was in front of them, but it was all part of a wonderful master plan, and you had so many great moves, and I'm sure Stephen brings that in. I guess it's a question, when do you dip in and out of that playing in front of you?
Yeah, definitely. I think you need the structures to give you those opportunities. I think probably the Reds on the weekend were a good example of how hard it is to attack if you're not going forward from your first three phases. So those things do need to be programmed to be effective. I think it's not just a matter of running out there and doing your best. It's having the structures in place that then give you the flexibility to take opportunities. And I think we're using those a lot better than we have in the past.
Paddy, any regrets about your career? I mean, obviously it's one where you just went hell for leather and put the body on the line.
No, definitely not. I absolutely loved every moment of playing rugby. Obviously, there was some down times with injuries and an ordinary form here and there that a lot of guys go through. But I just feel incredibly fortunate for the career I was able to have. I played with some great players, the Brumbies and the Wallabies, and got to experience a lot of things which I never thought I would. So, yeah, to walk away having played 24 tests when there's a lot of better players than me didn't get to play one, I was really proud of that and really thankful for I guess, the time I had, and I think I got the most out of the limited potential which I did have. So I really am content with that.
Well, I think you're selling yourself short. I've said repeatedly that Mark Cashman, that Pat McCabe is the best line runner I've ever seen in the game, and I think we miss Pat, and I think missing, and I know you're right here, Paddy, but excuse me for talking about you like this, but I think if they played you in the centres where I believe you should have been for a lot longer, we would have got a greater result for Australia. I don't know what you think, Casho.
Oh yeah, very much so. You need points of difference at different points in the back line. That's something that Paddy sort of brought to the game. He doesn't necessarily have to be selected on the wing to play that role in the middle of the field, really, does he? So that's the modern game now. So
yeah, absolutely. But Paddy, I loved your line running. It was just fantastic. I mean, did you find that came naturally when you were hitting the ball, that you could find the right angle that just bamboozled the defence. I just really enjoyed it. I mean, even when you came back and played in Brisbane last year or so, I thought just some of the great efforts and scoring as well.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I think it probably did. I think to be a good inside back, I think I needed to develop the other part of my game as well, and I felt like I was starting to do that through the Brumbies at the start of last year. But I think the really good inside centres can do a bit of both, and you look at someone like Nonu who can run those lines, but also has a really crisp sort of long passing game as well, which is something which I would have liked to have maybe developed in time. But the lines was something that I really enjoyed, and yeah.
Well, I was watching. I was paying attention.
Paddy, away from the field again, you're recently engaged. I've sort of saw on social media some months back, so an exciting time.
Yeah, it is, mate. It's really exciting. I'm getting married in Cape Town in December, so it's I guess just a really I don't know, sort of not a new start, but just a really different chapter in my life, with the rugby obviously coming to an end, and a lot of exciting things happening. So yeah, I didn't really spend too much time wallowing about the rugby. I think there's too much life to live, and that was just a small part of it, which I was very thankful for, and sort of looking forward to what the rest has to offer now.
As your twin brother...
What was wrong with Manly Beach?
Right, the pull of Lake Belly Griffin's just too strong. I think eventually, with that catch, I think more people will too.
No, it's not too bad at times. But, yeah, Paddy, with a bit more time in your hands, well, maybe not. As your brother who has a band, has he got you to do a bit of a bit of carting of gear around the place for him? Have you checked out his band of recent times? They're trying to rival the Wiggles, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and they're doing it really well. So they're called the Zoo Boys. Boys with a Z at the end. They're, I think far too good to be having me anywhere near the group. But yeah, I'm happy to move a few drums and do a few things. I really love to sit and perform, and the kids always enjoy it. So it's great.
Well, the great thing is that rugby's given you basically, I guess, in a way, it's given you your partner because of South Africa and in life, and it's also given you so many wonderful connections. And I think your family's been, knowing your family, they've been so proud of you.
They've been unreal. I think it's always hard for parents to watch, especially after having serious injuries. So, they've been so supportive from the days of waking up early and dropping me to Rat Park, and dropping me to St. Aloysius training, and early Waratahs Academy days. They've sort of been there every step of the way, and my brother and sister the same. So, I couldn't thank them enough for how amazing they've been through the whole thing.
Paddy, you mentioned Rat Park there. Has coaching come into your mind at any stage? Because the Rats are looking for a new coach. Haig Sayres heading up to Queensland for the next part of his life.
Yeah, he is. Haig's been amazing for the Rats over the last couple of years. I think the place has been really lucky to have Sammy Harris and then Haig and two great coaches who also played Super Rugby, and then were just really good team guys down at Rat Park. So he'll certainly be missed. Coaching for me, though, doesn't hold a very strong appeal. I think I really like the idea of knowing where I'm going to be for the next couple of years. I think coaching, like playing, is such an unpredictable roller coaster ride, and I certainly won't miss that aspect of the game at all. And I think the watching of vision and the poring over footage was never something which I ever enjoyed. I think I did it just as a necessary evil of being a professional player these days. But I'm very happy not to have to pore over clips now and go through them in intimate detail. I'm a very happy spectator.
Yeah, great to hear it. Pat McCabe, former Wallaby centre, who was unfortunately cut down in his prime with a neck injury, but I tell you what, he's got a full life ahead of him with a wedding coming up and a business role with the Brumbies. And Pat, one of my favourite players, so happy to speak to you. Mate, good luck with Cape Town, And you're not moving there, are you?
No, maybe in the future, but I'll be here for a little while yet.
Yeah. So
Cape Town, Canberra, Canberra.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's absolutely, you can compare both of them for hours. All right, Pat McCabe, thanks for joining us today from the Brumbies. Good luck, and sorry, I didn't say it right. Casho, it's not the Brumbies anymore.
It's Aquis Brumbies, please, Stuart.
The Aquis Brumbies. Yeah,
right, okay.
Exactly.
I remember when I had the
Canberra Casino Brumbies.
The start in the early days when it was the first of Vodafone Wallabies and Qantas Wallabies. Yeah. So, all right. Hey, from the Aquis Brumbies in the back room now, Pat McCabe, thanks very much for joining us on RuggaMatrix.
Cheers, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
There he is, Pat McCabe. Mark Cashman, thanks for coming in. Well done with the program too. We showed it last week. Fantastic work with the Waratahs program. Yeah,
great to be back there, Bronk. It's an area that I've done before, and I think done pretty well. So great to get the boots back on for the Tars. It's great.
All right, make sure you pick it up when you go to the next Waratahs game, and
which happens to be against the Aquis Brumbies, Paddy. So we'll see you up there.
Oh, look out! Plenty of programs.
March 22.
Okay. All right. So Paddy McCabe. Oh, we've lost him up there. So. See you later, Paddy. All right, that is it for RuggaMatrix International 201. We will see you next week with round 2 of the Super Rugby competition and more Six Nations. We'll be checking in with Les Kiss very shortly, so can't wait for that. Casho, thank you very much, and see you later, Paddy.
See you, Paddy.
Bye. See you next week. Bye for now.